Good morning, Rabboisai. לעילוי Nishmas imi mirosi rusbas Mordechai. We just learned in the Gemara the other day that in the Beis Rishon there's Nevuah. In the Beis Sheni, the Nevuah went away and we had a bas kol. We have a bas kol in this generation. We have a bas kol. We have to hear it, we have to understand it, we have to see it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu chased us away from the shuls. He chased us, he took us out, he said, out, get out, go into the street, leave the Bati Midrashim, leave the chasanas, there's no chasanas, there's no brisim, there's no bar mitzvahs, there's no mikvah. Go. So, Baruch Hashem, we came back, we're back in shul and everything. I was just listening yesterday. They said, in Eretz Yisrael, they beat COVID. The first country ever that is going to be a gathering of this, a million people coming together. And I see HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, yeah, you got over COVID. I have other tricks up my sleeve. There's other ways. We got to take it to heart. We got to do tshuva. We got to change our ways. Rabbi Yisai, over 40 people nifter, over 100 people injured, critical, nobody knows the numbers. It's unbelievable, unreal. Today's shir should be a zechus for those who are alive and suffering, for the mishpachas, for the neshamas that were nifter. Unreal. Today's shir is sponsored in honor of Elchanan Pressman, the one who kept me from frum and always believed in me. Oh, it's also his anniversary today in Lag Baomer. L'chanan makes the best cholent, hands down. Nishmas meireinu, harav agoin, harav Meir Shieinbערג, harav Meir ben harav Shmuel, and by Mordechai Sapoznick, Lkavod Lag Baomer, zoche Nishmas, Rebbe Shimon by Yochai, zecus levracha. May he be a meiletz of all of Klal Yisroel in his chus. May everyone in Klal Yisroel have yeshous, that they need bekarov mamish. He didn't even know what he was saying when he wrote this. The mamish need yeshous. The yard side of the Ramah, Moshe ben Yisrael Isserlis, Rebbe Shimon by Yochai, and a shidduch and parnasa for you, the Yisrael ben Rachel Chaya. L'ilui Nishmas hatana eliki, Rebbe Shimon by Yochai. L'ilui Nishmas harav Moshe ben harav Yisrael Isserlis, Ramah. L'ilui Nishmas hatana eliki, Rebbe Shimon by Yochai. It's from different people, 3 different people, from my 2 married daughters, sponsored anonymous. Who else? 8th sponsor, sponsored by the Mac brothers, the zechus refuah shlema for the grandfathers currently in the ICU. We should have refuah shlema. All right, Rabbi Yisai, this is we're going to be learning Torah, and it's going to bring us a geschmack, but we have to be serious. Harav agoin rebeli shlita. This is from Yosef Hillel Bain. I constantly sing it's geschmack to learn the daf. On a personal note, I want to thank you, as by listening to your shir, I can truly understand the daf and not just try to read the words. I also want to thank you for showing me how Yomi is more important than just doing the daf. I realize that by doing the daf each day and not just doing the daf, I feel different. Now, as you like to get hate mails, before you share, I always heard, I'm reading this because it has to do with today. I heard it was Shar Nikanor, not Shar Niknor. You say Shar Niknor. I was wondering what is correct to say. Anyway, I think the real, neither of those is Shar Nikanor, not Nikanor and not Niknor. Nikanor. Okay. Again, Shkar for Yiduv Klal Yisroel, Yosef Hillel, and Shmuel Yitzchak Mordechai Hakoyen Bain. I think we got a picture from him the other day, learning, the kid, but it was too small for me to print. Dear Rebbe, happy Lag Baomer from Avram Zurf. He's Avreich in Kiryat Sefer. The Shekoyach an amazing 3D presentation with colorful charts, model mizbeach, and stuffed goat. The Yeshuva carted away, saved the kitchen before it's about to get shechted. In today's daf, the Mishnah mentions that in Beis Aftinos, which we're going to learn, the elder Kohanim made they to make a shvuah accompanied by tears. This past Yom Ha'atzmaut was the first time in 2 years that I visited the old city where I died. And also that reminds me, because of this shir, I'm going to blame it on you guys. I haven't been to the Kaisel in a year and a half. It's one of the reasons why I moved to Eretz Yisrael. All right, we'll have to get there soon. Where I davened and reviewed the daf at the Kaisel and toured the burnt house, the actual home of the Aftina's family. Yeah? Aftina's family in the old city. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaroi. As you probably know, the Aftina's family is in charge of the weights in the Beis Hamikdash and knew how to make smoke of the Ketores rise in a straight pillar. They were also in charge of the weights. The Chachamim were initially displeased with their actions as they kept their secret within the family, refusing to share the trade secret with anyone lest it fall into the wrong hands. And then he says like this, similar to, where was he? This is the first, he's here. He's in the back making coffee. You. This is the first time in a long time that I was overcome with emotion upon visiting the Beis Aftinas and the Kaisel. And I attribute that to your helping us connect to the daf and bringing it to life. Attached is a photo of me doing chazara of the daf at the Kaisel. B'atzlacha, good Shabbos, Avram Zurov, Kiryat Sefer. Here is Rebbe Avram Zurov. A lot of you know what he looks like. He visited here once or twice. Here he is. Yom Ha'atzmaut, he went to the Kaisel. All right. Hakarsa Tov to the guy that came. Okay, listen, hate mail, there's hate speeches during the shir also. I call it hate. That's hate. Any tainas hate. Tainas are hate. You want to get over here? Come. Here, say tainas. Microaggression. All right, Rabbi, so we're holding by a brand new Mishnah, brand new Masechta. Little fight going on here between my two chaverim. Just somebody being put in his place, and there's Rabbi say, Sinas Chinam. Ay. All right, says the Mishnah. Masru Ziknei Bezdin. We're holding Daf Yomi Beis by the Mishnah. Brand new. I see two new guys here. Shalom Aleichem to you too. What's your name? Shalom Aleichem. Okay, I recognize you. Yeah. Masru Ziknei Bezdin LeZiknei Kahuna. Huh? Yeah. Welcome back. Masru Ziknei Bezdin LeZiknei Kahuna. We're talking about the Kohen Gadol, the 7 days that he was sequestered before Yom Kippur. So it's a little tricky, the Lashon. If you read the Lashon of the Mishnah, it's a little confusing to understand. So I'll help you out here. First, the Ziknei Bezdin take him and they give him over to the elders of the Kahuna. Ve'eleu Beis Aftinos. And they bring him to Beis Aftinos. Now, Beis Aftinos is the second story right over here. Let's see, where are we? Here, Beis Aftinos. Yeah, Beis Aftinos, thank you. The Mumch in the Beis Hamikdash says it's above. Right here. Beis Aftinos, second story. Oh, I have to show this real quickly. Somebody made a siyum, I don't know who, but they made a beautiful cake with a mizbeach. So we don't need, if we had this, and if you look closely, on the cow that shechted, there's blood coming out of the neck. On the cake. Not kidding. Here. You see what's going on there? Unbelievable. Great. Now, what do they do in Beis Aftinos? Beis Aftinos is where, as the Gemara is going to say, they're going to teach him chafino. Okay, we're going to see what that is in 2 minutes. Vishbi'u. So now, if you read the Mishnah, what does everybody say? What does Vishbi'u mean? Vishbi'u. Who? What does the Mesifta say in Vishbi'u? Who gave the shvuah? Who administered the shvuah? That's what you think. It says, Masru Ziknei Bezdin LeZiknei Kahuna. But in fact, the Vishbi'u is going back to the beginning of the Mishnah. Before they handed him over to the Ziknei Kahuna, the Ziknei Bezdin would be Mashbi'im. V'nifteru v'holchulim. So everyone, says Rashi, every one of the 7 days, they would give him over, the Ziknei Bezdin would give him over to the Ziknei Kahuna and teach him how to do the Ketores, the Chafina, as we're going to see soon what that means. But on the final day, one time, one Shvuah on the final day, and they would say like this, V'amrulai, Ishi Kohen Gadol, our master, the Kohen Gadol, Anu Shluchei Bezdin. And the Gemara is medayik this word later, so we should remember this word. We are the shlichim of Bezdin, not of Hashem, we're the shlichim of Bezdin. Va'ata shlucheinu, and you are our shliach. U'shliach Bezdin, and the shliach of Bezdin. We're going to make you swear with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who rests in this house right here, in this Beis HaMikdash. There's a great fear that this Kohen Gadol might be a tzduki. In fact, the Gemara brings a story that one of the Kohen Gadol was a tzduki. I'm sure there's more. So we want you to swear that you're going to do exactly like we say. As the Gemara is going to describe, there's a machlokes between the tzdukim and the prushim. When exactly does he take the ketores and put it on the coals? Is it inside the heichal right over here, where nobody could see? But before he goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim atop over here, Gary, yeah, more. Kodesh HaKadoshim is here, yeah. This is Kodesh HaKadoshim. We know from a Messiah that he takes everything in separate and he puts the ketores on the coals in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. They believe it's done inside the heichal. It should be already ready when he comes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and they made him swear that he's not going to do it like it's duki. Therefore, hu poireshu boicha, veheim poirshenu boichen. So he leaves crying, as the Gemara is going to describe, because they will just choshed him that he's a tzduki. You know me for all these years, you think I'm a tzduki? You have to make me swear. Veheim poirshenu boichen, and they are very sad that he's crying and that they accused him that they were choshed b'ksher. Who Pirish, he goes to the side and cries. Now, the Mishnah says he cannot sleep during the night, right? As we described yesterday, we're concerned for Tumah. So he doesn't sleep. So if he was a Chacham, Dairesh, he sits and gives drushes all night long so he shouldn't fall asleep. And if he's not a Talmud Chacham, they give drushes to him. There might be a picture here. I don't remember anymore. There's a lot of pictures. So, okay, fine. They give drushes to him. And if he knows how to read, in those days there were no nukudas. You have to know how to read. So he reads. If he doesn't know how to read, as we described in Bayesheni, they'll read for him. What kind of material do they read? The interesting things. The Nevi'im that are stories and keep him awake. Be'iyov, ube'ezra, ube'divrei hayomim. Ksuvim. Zechai ben Kvutal Omer. And Zechai ben Kvutal says, with a vase, Kvutal, pa'amim harbe karisi lefanav bedoniel. There's other interesting things. It's not necessary. You don't have to dafke do Iyov, Ezra, and Divrei hayomim. You could also do Daniel. Says the Gemara top of Yotes Amud Aleph. Tana. Le'lamdoi chafina. Why did they bring him to Beis Haftinas? To teach him chafina. Rabbi Isai, I'm going to take the great pleasure to show you what I think chafina looks like. First, I made a kli all by myself. It looks something like this. Now, obviously, in the Beis Hamikdash, this was gold and this was gold, but I had to do it see-through so you see what's going on. So here's the kli. Hopefully, it doesn't fall apart as we're doing this. Okay, now, I have a pan here. Don't ask me why, but scared me there. This is some sort of pan that they bring the ketores in, but that's not why I brought it here. It's going to catch my ketores. Here's my ketores. I want to show you why this happens to be the most difficult thing in the Beis Hamikdash. One of the most difficult things. It's chafina. You go like this. You pour in ketores. Okay. Now, here's what's going on. The ketores is similar to this consistency, yeah? Now, he goes like this. He holds this. The cameraman is having an issue. We'll wait for the camera. Go back up a little bit. Yeah, shkoyach. A little bit more. Yeah, okay. It's fine. So he comes in with two things. First, he has this pan. It's full of coals. And he has this. It's the ketores. So now, all right. I don't know what. I'm just trying to do something here. He has to get all of. So this is what he's practicing all week long. Now what? If one drop falls into the pan, it's all over. I'll show you how hard it is. So he goes like this, like this. This is one way to do it. There's another way. I'll show you in a second. Nothing could fall, nothing. I'm out. But there's another way. Hold on, I don't know if I could. Let's turn this. There's another way. He has to go like this. That's why they'll go all week long. They're practicing this. Okay, shkoyach. You have to be professional. If one drop falls, it's gone. Then he puts it in the pan with the coals. Yeah. No, I didn't say he does it over the pan. He does it over the floor. I'm using the pan to catch my sugar on the table. I don't want the sugar on the table. All right. Lilamde chafina. Omer apapa. Shtei l'shachos hayulei l'kohen gadol. Achas lishkas parhedrin. This we spoke about extensively. Right over here, parhedrin. Is that it? No. Somewhere over here. Where? This. He says right over here. Amud Aleph, right here. Parhedrin. That's what we discussed. Now the Gemara says there's another one. He hung out somewhere else. V'achas lishkas b'saftinos. The yellow. Okay. Achas bat sofain, v'achas bat dorim. So we decided that it's Amud Aleph right over here in the sofain, and this one is in the Durham, in the south, in the north. Great. It's not. And now because of this, we're going to go through a lot of different l'shachos and sha'arim. There's not. Sheish l'shachos hayu ba'azar. There's 6. Gimel bat sofain v'gimel bat darim. 3 on this side, 3 on that side. Sheba darim lishkas hamelach. Darim. So we have over here, right over here. You see, lishkas hamelach, salt. Right above it, lishkas haparva. Above that, lishkas hamadichim. Lishkas hamelach, lishkas haparva, lishkas hamadichim. Lishkas hamelach, what's that? Melach. Sheshama yunoisem melach la carbon. That's where they stored the salt for the karbanos. Then they would take salt from there and bring it over to the one next door. Lishkas haparva, sheshama yumalchim oiros kadashim. So they would salt the hides right over here in this middle guy. Now you see on top there's a swimming pool. Beautiful. That's the mikvah on the roof. That's where the kohen gadol would be toivel on Yom Kippur. As you could see, it's inside the azara. You see, the swimming pool is within these walls. What's the third one? That's where they would rinse off the kachim, the intestines. Umisham mesiba oila legag beis parva, and there was a spiral staircase going up to the beis parva. I might have a picture here, but here we go. I don't see the spiral staircase, but here's a picture of what it looked like. Hamelach, parva, amedichin, and there's a beis tefillah. Here's the mikvah. Shalish Shabbat Safain, and now we're going to this side of the Beis Hamikdash, right over here. Lishkas ha'etz, Lishkas ha'goyla, Lishkas ha'gazes. Let's see if they have it here. Gazes, I see. Eitz, I don't know, somewhere in here. Okay. What's over here? No. Lishkas ha'etz, Omer Rebbe Lezer Miyakov, shechachti mehoisa mishameshes. As you recall, we just had the other daf that the Gemara said the same lashon. Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov forgot, and he told him, you remind him, it's Beis Hashmanim, and the Gemara learns from there, from the fact that Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov says, I don't know what it is. I could also say, Omer Eli, I don't know what it is. No, because he's the author of the Mishnayos, and when he got to that part, he said, I don't know what it is. So you see from there that he's the author of these Mishnayos. Shachachti ma'hoisa mishameshes. Omer lishkas kohen gadol. I forgot who said it over there, Leiby. Also Abishol. This 8 was for the Kohen Gadol. V'gag shloshtam shava. They're all together right over here. Okay. Lishkas hagoyla. This is the chamber that those who came from Galus they made. Sham haya bar hagoyla. There. By the way, here's a nice picture. Doing chafina, teaching him how to do chafina. You see this? Okay. Let's see if I can find this goyla. I know it's in here. Here's the goyla. In the goyla, you have this well with a wheel on top. Umisham v'gagal nosan olav umisham aspikim mayim l'chol azar. That's where the water for the entire azar came. Lishkas hagazis sham haisa Sanhedrin she Yisrael yosheves v'donas hakoyanim. This is where they sat and decided who's a kohen, not a kohen. As you all know, the terrible story that just happened in Yerushalayim. There's a guy that pretended he was a kohen. In fact, he was a missionary. You didn't hear about this? He's looking at me, no. Okay, so there's a family, Haredi family, giant pays, giant beard, 6 kids in Chadarim in the schools. Just this week, they found out they're 100% Christian. He preaches the gospel. All he did was he wanted to infiltrate the Haredi community, and he told people he was a kohen. He did pidyon abens. He officiated weddings, everything. And Yosef called me up at night. He says his friend's kid bought a pair of tefillin from this guy, and they're looking for a tefillin for tomorrow morning. Do I have extra pair? Anyway, so. Wow. If you didn't hear the Avi Kamiansky want to know if he does the daf. Wow. I'm sure he does the daf, or he gives the daf. Zok the Gemara, Umisha nimsa by psul. So in those days, it wasn't easy to get away with saying you're a kohen. Today, every guy that becomes frum basically is a kohen because his grandmother was a kohenes, so Mela makes him a kohen. And there's a lot of kohanim that are not really kohanim. But in those days, they had to go through the yeshous, Umisha nimsa by psul. If there's a psul in the yeshous, no, I spoke to the guy, I said, how do you know you're kohen? My grandfather once mentioned, so I'm either Levi or Kohen. I picked Kohen. What did he mention? That his grandson, he believes, is a Kohen. Okay, fine. So if the Sanhedrin decides you're not a Kohen, your story doesn't add up, they give you black clothing on the spot, you wear a black hat, and you leave. You're Haredi. You go out black. If he's a real kohen, he wears white. So there he goes, continues the avodah. Now, one of the chambers that he was in is in the south, right over here. This nan, we learned in the Mishnah, there's 7 gates in the Azar. Now we're talking about gates, not l'shachos. Gates. Right over here. Shar Nikanor, not Nikanor, Shar Nikanor, right over here. Gate. Gates. Here are the 7 gates. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, on Saf Dar, and 1 over here. Shabadaroim. Shabadaroim. And that's what we want to hear. That's why we see that he had a chamber in the Darim. That's why we're bringing this whole thing. Sharad Leika, let's see if we can find it. Here, Sharadelik. That's where they bring in the fuel. Rashi says he doesn't know. But we learned in Shkolim, the Tikkun Chadatin says it's because they brought the fuel and he brings from Rishayim. Okay. Sheni loy Shar HaKarban. There's another one called Shar HaKarban. Right over here. Shar B'chayr, Shar HaKarban. That's where they bring in the Karbanas of the B'chayr. Shlishi loy Shar HaMayim. Okay, this is important. This is where they bring in the water. Where is it? Over here. Shar HaMayim. Why is there 4 out of it? Okay, Shar HaMayim. This is what we're talking about. That on Sukkos, look how close it is to the Mizbeach. Right over here. So in Sukkos, they would bring in water from here and do Nisach HaMayim on Sukkos every day of Sukkos. Shiba Mizrach, Shar Nikonar. Right over here, 1 Shar Nikonar. You hear Rabbi Bain Nikonar. Ushtei l'shachis hayusham. And there was 2 little chambers here, one here, to the 2 sides. One was called the tailor, Pinchas the tailor. He would, here's a beautiful picture. All these are from Klal Yisroel today. It looks something like that. Like Saks Fifth Avenue kind of store, like a nice granite table. They give you the thing, nice shelving with lights, LED, the whole thing. This is what it looked like. Mamish like that. And there's another one called V'achas Lishkas Oisei Chavidin. That's where every kohen that walked in, he didn't come with his own big day kuna. He had to go into Pinchas's room over there, and they would dress him up, ask him extra large, give him the size. In fact, here's chavitin. This is where the kohen gadol every single day had to make chavitin. It was done over here. And minchas chinuch also. Remember, every kohen the first day he starts the avodah of his life, he has to bring one minchas chavitin. It was done over here, right over here to the left. Pinchas is to the right, chavitin is to the left. Correct. Shabbat Safain. It was brought to the Mizbech. Shabbat Safain. Shar Nitzoitz. Right over here. Where's my stick? Nitzoitz over here. Top Shar. Binyan Achsadra Hoya was a beautiful building with a pavilion here. There's a nice picture. Achsadra. It had nice red curtains, it says over here. With the pom-pom, the whole thing. Achsadra, Shar Nitzoitz. And on top, there was a upper floor, right over here. Aliyah. On top, the kohanim would do shmira. They didn't have to literally protect the Beis Hamikdash. They stood guard overnight. Milamalo, Levim milamata, and the Levim were downstairs. Past this, on the outside, you have the chel. This is the chel. We know the chel, the pink stuff. So past this wall is the chel, all around there. Sheni loy shar korban, shlishi loy shar beis hamoiked. So you have over here shar korban, and here shar beis hamoiked. We discussed this extensively the other day with the tlaim. Are the tlaim over in this corner, or the sheep are in this corner? The lechem, the moiked, and the chosamis are in there as well. Utanya. Chomish tfilos v'asor kiddush. We're going to go into this later. We don't have to go into it now. Chomish tfilos. The kohen gadol was busy being toivel 5 times on Yom Kippur v'asor kiddushin, and he would wash his hands and his feet 10 times. Toivel kohen gadol mekadosh boy b'yom v'chulam b'kodesh ala gag b'saf harva. All the tfilos happen over here. No, over here. Swimming pool. Right here. Chutz mizu shoyse b'chol. Besides the first one. The first one was a regular tefillah that every kohen has to do a tefillah, so it could be outside over here. Outside. But the other ones had a kedusha of Yom Kippur in them. They had to be inside the kodesh right over here in the mikvah, which is inside the azar. Agavi shar hamayim, which was on top of shar hamayim. And so it says mefurish here. Where's the mikvah? Right over here. And it's right next to his chamber. Well, we were learning that his chamber is over here, Amud Aleph, right over here, Parhedrin. So it says mefurish that he had another chamber. He had 2. And that one was over here on this side, on the Durham side, not on Safa. V'lo yidano, ilishkas Parhedrin batzafan, ilishkas beis haftinas badorim, or ilishkas beis haftinas batzafan, ilishkas Parhedrin badorim. Which one is Amud Aleph? Parhedrin, like we learned up until this point, or perhaps this is Parhedrin, and this is Parva. Maybe Parva is Amud Aleph. My timer says Gemara, umistabra. It makes a lot of sense. Common sense. Lishkas Parhedrin badorim havi. As Lishkas Parhedrin is in the south. Why? My timer magdim koyu metzach izrag levitovil va'azil latzafim v'gomer chafina. What happens? Every morning he wakes up, goes to the bathroom. G'dolim, number 2. Mesach, that's the only way. So he has to leave. So since he left the Beis Hamikdash, anybody that comes in has to be toivel. Not going to the bathroom. If you come to the Beis Hamikdash, you have to be toivel. V'azal atzofan. V'gomar chafina. And then he goes tzofan. So does it make sense that he comes out, then he has to go over here. How is he going to go? He has to go all the way around to be toivel. Here's the mikvah. So he goes it's a kind of a distant place. And then he learns about chafina, and he goes inside over here. We learned he has to practice rika and all the stuff. And then he does all the avodah. And then they do zrika on him. And then he goes again. So then he comes around and he goes to sleep over here. But if you say that Parhedrin is over here, Va'azal adarim v'tavel. He has to go to the south and be tovel. V'gomer chafina. And then he has to come all the way back to here. Va'azal Beis Hamikdash v'avodah kol Yoma. L'hadipanya madu alei. They sprinkle him. Va'azal adarim v'tavel. And then he has to go all the way back here in tovel, because he's not kaddish. He's tummy. He has to go outside and be tovel. U'beili mehedar. U'mezal atzafen. And then he has to go all the way back to his chamber to go to sleep over here on this side. Huh? No. Here. He's toivel and darim. And he has to go back to tzafan umenach. If parhedron is over here, we said he sleeps in parhedron. If parhedron is here, that means after the tefillah he has to go back over here. When we talk about Tefillin and Kulai, we're going to make him crazy after the tefillah, walk all the way around the Beis Hamikdash here. Says Gemara, yes, it makes a lot of sense that he sleeps, that the Yarmatriachim, the Tzdukiyu, Lifroish. We want to make sure that he's doing it for the right reason, and we make him a sugar, back and forth, let him walk and walk. If he's not doing it for the right reason, he'll give up, and that's it. Inami should zoche dai to Olav. You shouldn't have gaiva. You should say, "Oh, I'm the big kohen gadol." No, you kohen gadol. You still have to walk back and forth. Made the two l'shachos next to each other. Make it easy for him. Inami tizgalei b'chada, or just make one. Why do you need two? It's on purpose to tire him out, to see if he's doing it for the right reason. And they say to him, "Ishi kohen gadol, let me have the yuvda the Rav Huna b'reder of Yeshua." We said in the Mishnah, the Rav Huna b'reder of Yeshua, Hanekana shlucha the Rachmananinu. So in the Mishnah it says that they tell him, what's the lashon here? Anu shluchei bezdin. We are the shlichim of bezdin, and you are va'ata shluchei nu v'shliach bezdin. You're our shliach. Zimach loikis, Rav Huna b'reder of Yeshua says, every time you go to the Beis Hamikdash and the kohen does the avodah for you, you can't do it. You're Yisrael. Is he your private shliach, or he's doing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's job? You just happen to be bringing a carbon. Big nafkemina. Says Rashi, what if you say, I'm mudar hana from this kohen? I have nothing to do with this kohen. If he's a shliach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it doesn't matter. Even if you have nothing to do with him, he can take your carbon, do all the avodah. But if it's a personal thing, then he can't do the avodah for you. Over here you see, it's personal. Rav Kana holds it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but in our mission it says it's personal. Ata shluchei nu. They don't mention HaKadosh Baruch Hu here. The Am shluchei didaninu. Turn to Daf Yomi Beis. Mikimidi danam lo mitzina lemebad. Ushluchei didam motzim abdi. They can't perform the avodah. That's Rav Huna's taina. A Yisrael can't do any of the avodah. So how could somebody that can't do an avodah make a kohen a shliach for him? You have to be able to do it yourself in order to make a shliach. There's a whole nidon here based on this Gemara. What if a guy doesn't have hands? Rahman al-Islam doesn't have hands. Could he make a shliach to write a get for him? He himself can't do it. It's a whole nidon. He really could. It's technical. Fine. Sponsored for l'schos a shidduch for Sarah Lina Bas Goldalea, and another sponsor here schos for shidduch for Sheno Rachel Bas Avram Tzvi. Says the Gemara, no, not a good ride from our Mishnah. That there's a concept that the shvuah should be like we want it. Of course it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you want to go like Rav Huna. But what does it mean? There's a famous Gemara, Kanya de Rava. Remember that sugya? There's a guy in court by Rava who swore, basically he had a stick, and he was an old man walking. So Rava said, make a shvuah that you don't owe so-and-so money. He says, no problem. Here, take the stick. Here, take it. And he made a shvuah. And then the guy got so upset, he said, you just nishbal sheker. He took the guy's stick and smashed it in the ground. It popped open and all his money fell out. So the guy did a trick. I'm making a shvuah that I don't have the money, because he just gave it to somebody. But it was a trick. So therefore, they said, there's no more tricks. All the shvuahs have to do with what we are thinking in our head. So if you're a tzduki, you're doing all these tricks, you can't do tricks. You can't say, oh, I'm going to do it, I'll das this. I thought it was a good kasha. They kind of made fun of me, but Baruch Hashem, I found it in the Rebbe Kiva Eger. What is this tzduki, what's happening? We're talking about a frum guy. Frum tzduki, he's not a shegitz. He believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just he learns differently. The way he learns the Torah is different. He doesn't have a Messiah from Moshe Rabbeinu. So what are you going to do to him? You're going to say, make a shvua, they're going to do the Ketores like we like it, not like you. He's frum. He's going to say, I'm going to listen to these Rishayim that don't know how to learn. I'm going to make a shvua sheker now, and I'm going to do the Ketores like I believe. This is the pasuk. It's not a shvua sheker. I'm trying to save Klal Yisroel here. You can't get a kapara if you do Ketores inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. I believe Ketores has to be outside of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So I'm going to lie. Okay. Anyway, different tirutzim. Ayin Shom. I found it in Mishnah. So you want to look? It's in the Mishnah over here. Who parishu boichem and parishu boichem? Why are they crying? Who parishu boichem shechashadu tzduki? No, we don't have time here. Yochai midam tzduki. I could ask you another question I don't have an answer for. You know, I'm not choshid you that you tzduki. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told me to be choshid you. That's the halacha. The halacha is there's a book. It says in the book, make him be nishba. And then it says in the book, then you go to the side and cry, and you go to the side and cry. But that's what the Mishnah says. Are they really choshid in these tzedukis? They're not choshid. But my chiyuv is to make you do a shvua. I know, but am I really choshid? I'm not choshid. I have to do what the Gemara says. The halacha says everybody has to take a shvua. The what? The crying why? Yes, that's one of the teruzim. Correct. That the matzav, that the tzdukim in us infiltrated us. There's missionaries infiltrating. You can't be chosh. You see from Moshe Rabbeinu, who's chosh Klal Yisroel, he got saras. So you chosh somebody else, you get a zetz. So why were they made him make a shvua? Again. So we have this clear. Where's my stick? Bachutz means over here in the heichal. It's really bifnim because nobody could see him. But klape, the Kodesh HaKadoshim is bachutz. It's outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, but still the doors are closed there. Nobody can see what's going on. He held, the tzdukim hold, because it says, look, I have a pasuk here. Ki be'onon eiroya ala kaporos. I see you with smoke. They're learning the pasuk literally. That as he walks into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there's going to be already smoke. The Ketores is already going up. How do you do that? By pouring this cup that we poured, by pouring the kli of Ketores into the gechalim, into the coals, before he enters the Kodesh HaKadoshim, ki be'anan eirah. That's how they learned it. But they didn't have the tradition of Moshe Rabbeinu, who received it directly from Kadosh Baruch Hu, who gave us the Torah Shabbat Peh. Torah Banan. Ma'isa b'tzduki echad, the great Ma'isa. She'izkim b'achutz v'yichnes. He did it the way the tzdukim do it, outside. He was excited. Why? He's mamish frum. He was able to do it all these years. Doilim didn't know what they're doing. Now he's doing it. Al pi shitas hatzdukim. Paga by aviv. Reminds me, without going into details, but there's different places in Klal Yisroel that they throw yogurts at Rosh Hashivas and stones at people. And no, but they're happy. They're doing it b'simcha. They think that, I'm doing the right thing. I'm frum. I'm doing the right thing. Terrible. I'm saying it b'dafka because today, sinas chinam, and look at what's going on in Klal Yisroel. Who's also tzduki, he says, no. You can't do it. We're tzdukim, you're right, you did the wrong thing. You shouldn't have done it. I was very sad about this pasuk. I wish I could be mekayim. Halavai should be able to do it. Finally, my whole life I'm waiting for this day. Like himeno. Omru. This guy died, untimely death. And his body was thrown into the garbage. And worms came out of his nose. Now, if you don't pick in Taisvis, why did worms come out of his nose? Smell the Ketores. That's what I thought also. Rashi says it was the first thing that walked into Kodesh HaKadoshim. Now, the truth is, it's not really the first thing. He was holding something in his hand. His hands came first. So they discuss it. Usually that's the first thing they go, okay, fine. That's Rashi. What?
Why didn't he die in the Kodesh?
He died right there and then. Well, then they would have to. Then it would be bad. Then they would have to go in there and be.
They robbed.
Oh.
You should have died on the spot.
Okay. Then we wouldn't know the story. Oh, we want the story. No, we want the story that his father gave him mussar and he this, and now we understand what happened there. The Tanya Reb Chia, what?
It is a Passover night, yes, because they won't die.
Listen, when I go up there, I'll come back, I'll tell you. Be'ez Hashem.
You're not going to be in the
No, they'll talk Torah, they'll know. They're going to. The Tanya Reb Chia came in, called Nishma Ba'azara. They heard a thump. Shabbat Malach, v'chavotoi al ponov. V'nichnesu echov, u'matzoi kikaf regel egel ben kseifav. Look at this, Rabbi Isai. I asked Yosef to do something for me. Look what he did. There's a kaf regel on his back. Now, they also found that he had a tattoo on his arm. That's a different story. But, yeah. Even the Zdukim, see, you asked about the daf. Even the Zdukim did the daf. He's dead. One yarmulke, the guy's dead. This is after he died. He got a chavot on his back from an egel. Shenemar, v'ragleim regel yeshor v'kaf ragleim ishkoyach Yosef. V'ragleim regel yeshor v'kaf ragleim. You didn't want to see mine. I also did one. Wasn't so gishmak. V'kaf ragleim kikaf regel egel. So the malachim have a foot like a cow. So the Yerushalmi asks here, how did the malach go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim? Malach is not. Nobody's allowed in. No, zero. And the Yerushalmi answers because if the kohen doesn't do what he's supposed to do, then you don't have this halacha that nobody else can go in there with him. He's Dr. Yerushalmi. Okay, Omer of Zechai ben Kvutal. His name was Kvutal with a vase. Master Rav Chonan Barova, Lechia Barav, Kamei de Rav. So Rav Chonan was saying over this thing, Omer Reb Zecharia ben Kvutal. He said it with a fei. Umachvelei Rav biyodei Kvutal. And Rav showed him some sort of vase, maybe did the second letter. He did some sort of, it's a vase. It reminds me in Eretz Yisrael, when you come to the, if you go into the airport, they ask you, where are you coming from? How is it? How's vase? I don't get it. What?
It's mask. They say mask.
What?
Mask. Put your mask up.
Yeah.
They don't say where you're going to be. They tell
Oh.
you.
It's not a joke. There's a kid that ran away during Ben Azmanim in the neighborhood, and the kid told me that he was in Yerushalayim. All of a sudden, a cop comes running over to him, and he says, "Oh boy," because they had his picture everywhere. He says, "They caught me," and the cop comes over and he says, "Put your mask on. What are you doing?" He's like, "Okay." Anyway, so they stop you because they want to see if you know how to say a pay. Arabs can't say a pay. So if you say Pesach Beis HaMikdash or whatever, they say Betach Beis HaMikdash. So what? Pizza. They don't know how to say pizza. They can't say a pay. So that's how they're able to tell if you're a good guy or not. So it says over here, this is the opposite story. He made a mistake between the same letters, a vase and a pay, but in the reverse. So he said, you're reading it with a pay. He didn't know how to say pay. You're supposed to do it with a vase. Says the Gemara, why didn't they just tell him, hey, his name is Kvutal? Why does he have to do with his finger, a vase, two, whatever it was? Says the Gemara, Krishma Avakari. He was middle Krishma. What? You're allowed to make simana with your hands in middle Krishma? Oh, Allah people don't know this. If you're reading Kriyashma, you shouldn't blink with his eyes. I've seen people, middle Kedusha, so you can't talk, that they know, but they'll go like this. They say something with their lips, but they're not saying it out. After Hamaitzi, whatever. No. You can't make movements with your lips. And you shouldn't point with your fingers. So how did he point with his fingers? Omer, You didn't say Kriya Shema Yaakov. What's wrong? Well, that doesn't count. You're not allowed to do all these things in the first paragraph of Kriya Shema, like we learned in Brachas, the first pasuk, the this, Machlaik isn't over there. But Perik Sheni, it's okay to make rimazim. Tanarabana. V'dibarto bom v'loy b'tfila. When you say Kriya Shema, you say it out loud, But that's only Kriya Shema. Shemona Esrei, you do not say it out loud. Because we learned tefillah from Chana. It's one of my pet peeves. When I hear people saying Shemona Esrei a little bit too loud. So first of all, they don't know the halacha. You're supposed to say it quietly. Maybe that you yourself hear, but certainly not that the person standing next to you hears. First of all, it's the halacha. Second of all, it's not manners. You're disturbing other people. But some people are super machmer, they say it loud, and that's my pet peeve. Fine. Unbelievable. You have permission to talk in Torah, in Kriya Shema, in Torah, and not in other things, not in Dvarim B'Teilim. This is, Rabbi said, this is unbelievable. You can't pass this line without saying one word. Like the guy wrote yesterday, 2 days ago, that he works 12 plus hours a day. So what does that mean? So if the guy works 12 plus hours a day, because he's mamish, he can't put bread on his table, and he learns Torah, so he's showing that he doesn't have a breira. But the guy said that he used to not learn Torah, and he worked 12 plus hours. What do you think? He's going to force HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give him more parnasa? Exactly. You have to make Torah keva, whatever that means. Torah is first, everything else is secondary. Not 12 hours plus of work, and then, I don't have time for Torah. That's not keva. I don't know what that is. That's not even arai. Now he did tshuva, now he does chitas, and he does daf, and Be'ez Hashem is going to finish us with us. Omer This is difficult to read, because we're not holding there, but just talking Dvarim B'Teilim for no reason, but I have a nice Mesilas Yesharim that goes on this. If you talk for no reason, you're over and asay, shenemar v'dibarta bam v'lo b'dvarim acherim, Ravacha b'Yaakov Omer, Omar, over belav, shenemar kol advarim yigeim lo yuchal ish, l'daber etzalav. So here goes, just real quickly, because we're done. Mesilas Yesharim says an amazing yesod for life, very, very important yesod. He says it a number of times. I saw it in Precious yesterday. He says that you shouldn't be eating stam shtosim. You're allowed to eat whatever you want. But for no reason whatsoever. In other words, you're not hungry at all. And just to stam, for the hak, to eat, that's awesome. But he talks about every single pleasure in this world. He gives a whole list of all the pleasures. Every pleasure. You're allowed to do it. Do whatever you want, anytime you want, as long as there's a reason behind it. So you're allowed to shmooze with your friend if you have a reason. But what if you don't have a reason? What if you're not sure if it's the reason? Here's a beautiful Mesilas Yesharim. Mesilas Yesharim says, if you are not sure, then you're allowed to. Because you're not mechuyev to make yourself crazy. Is this bite of ice cream, do I need it? If you think you need it, good. If you think it's going to be a good thing to tell your friend a certain story, good. If you start being mesupik, it's also good. It's only when it's 100%, there's no reason for you to go over to that guy and schmooze, and you're going for no reason, then you're even an assay. Have a wonderful day. Motzei Shabbos, same time, 9:30. And today's Tehillim, L'schos, Refuah Shleiman, for all those cholim in Miran, and for the healing of their families. Shkoyach. Yeah. No, it's not. It's perfect. It's not. It's 71 degrees.
In here?
Yeah.
That's what it's set up?
Yeah. It's not cold. A lot of people have different things. I don't think... Avi, you're cold? Really? It's geschmack. It's not so cold. Really? It's 70 degrees. It's set on 70. You cold? So if the other one's saying it's cold, then it's cold. Yeah, I thought it's one person.